Okay, today on the gun bench we're going to be doing a complete disassembly on the Sig 320 X5 Legion. So, to start, we'll just go ahead and do our field strip. We'll set the frame off to the side while we work on the slide. Go ahead and remove recoil spring and barrel. Just lift the barrel out of there. And then, if you want, this top plate to mount an optic goes on, and the screws, these screws here are in these two bottom holes, so you just got to remove it from there. I took this off because I bought a Romeo 1 thinking that it would fit, and it doesn't. It's cut for the new Romeo, and that was my fault for not reading, but yeah, oh well. So now I have a optic that doesn't fit on any of my other guns, but I'm going to make it work. So let's start in with the slide itself. First thing you'll want to do is push down on the extractor plunger here. And you're just going to push down on that just a little bit, and then slide that back plate off. Once you do that, you can remove the extractor plunger. From there, you can pull out the striker assembly, and then your extractor will just fall right out. So now the slide is completely stripped. Let's set it off to the side, besides the front sight, which we're not doing. But we can disassemble the striker itself. So you can see how this works. This here is the lever that blocks. Right now it can't come forward, but when the piece in the frame hits up, and now it allows it. I can't do it, but it'll allow it to come forward now. Just see it's blocking it right now, and I push up, and it can come forward. So what we want to do is remove the cups up here on the front. So just pull down the spring and take those two cups out of there. They're just two halves, just like most striker fired guns. Remove your spring. From there, you can remove. Yeah, it's easier to just go ahead and take this out. That just pulls out of there. Now you can remove the striker itself. Now those parts are the last two. Now there's two springs in here. You have an actual spring, and then you have like this lifter spring here for the takedown, or the firing pin block lever. So this one here just kind of comes out if you want to take it out. It's right there. And then there's another one that's down in this track. Very small spring. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. Very small, so you don't want to lose it. I mean, that is itty bitty. So I'm going to put that one back in the gun while we work on the frame, just so it didn't get lost. It just goes in this slot. Make sure it stayed in there, and I'm going to put that up over there. I'm going to put all the slide pieces in this bowl. Put that over to the side, and now we can start working on the frame. So you want to remove the chassis, and the way to do that is just go ahead and rotate your lever up back to normal position, and then sometimes it's just easier to push it out with a punch. Once you remove that, now you can pull up on the front rails and remove the chassis itself. We'll come back to the chassis as we take the magazine release out. Now the mag well itself is just held in with a star key here, which I cannot find my bit that's that small. But if you just remove that key, you can remove the mag well if you'd like. I like it on there though. That's kind of the point of it. So to remove the magazine release, it can either be easy or it can take a minute. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do. But if you look at the back of the mag release, when I lift it up, you can see that hole right there. So basically, you're going to have to get something small, like a heavy paper clip, and you're going to stick it in that hole and push. And when you do that, you're going to have to try to lift up on this secondary piece right here. That piece, excuse me, that piece actually slides out. So what you're doing is when you push this in, you're pushing the clip that holds into this front piece back enough so you can lift that piece out of there. And sometimes it just comes right out, and sometimes it's a pain. So we'll see how it goes. It's kind of hard to do sometimes with while you're pushing on the mag release itself. It's got a little lip back there you can grab, but most of the time you can't get onto it. And you're putting Alright, so now we've got it pushed in and we've started to pull this piece out. You just pull that piece out, pull out your pin, and then the mag release will come out, and there is a spring that you have to watch. That's a lot easier to get back in. We'll do that at the end of the video. But so basically how it works, that spring goes in here, and then you have this piece. You can see how it works there. It's just got a clip. It's the same way as a PPQ. And it goes in like this. And that's what holds it together. And when you push your pin through here, you're pushing up on that clip enough to where it'll allow it to come by. You come out. It's just kind of a pain in the ass to do sometimes. But we'll set that off to the side over there. And now the frame is completely stripped besides doing the mag well, like I said, which I do not have that star bit. I did, and I cannot find it. So put the frame off to the side. Now we'll work on the chassis itself. I'll zoom in for a little bit closer detail. Alright, so the first thing I do, people do these differently, I would imagine, but first thing I do is remove the slide lock. So to remove the slide lock, this pin here, you're just going to want to pull it out. Keep your hand over right here, and just pull that pin out. Where's my little cup at? Sure, that'll work. And then now you can remove the slide lock, and it does have a spring that might not want to come with it. It sits down in there. Now, if it doesn't just pull right out, you can pull the trigger forward and stick a small punch in through this little hole right here and kind of push it out, but it should just pull right out. Alright, next, let's see, we can remove, let's go ahead and drop the trigger bar and the spring out. Now there's different ways of doing this, but I just kind of, you can pull the trigger bar down out of its place in the sear, and then rotate the spring down and just kind of push it out like that. And now you can get it in the right spot and remove this spring. There we go. So that spring just goes up in the bar like this. Comes down, and that's how it loops. It loops back around. To get it back in there is fun. But so now the trigger bar will come out, and then you can remove the trigger itself. So the trigger, if you look on the, it's got a cutout here where the bar goes. It goes in like this, slides through the actual chassis one way or another, like that. So pretty easy. Let's see, next, to remove the takedown lever safety bar, they call. If you look how this works, it's got a, oh no, sorry, first take out the trigger stops pin, which is right here. You might have to tap it out a little bit. It just depends. Yep. Just push that pin out. That just stops the trigger bar from traveling too much backwards. It's just a trigger stop. And from there, you can remove this takedown safety lever. So what I do is just go ahead and pull that spring in there. You see how it's got a spring down in the sear block. You don't necessarily have to do this. Sometimes you can just push it back and pull it out. Yeah, you can just do it like that. So just you're pulling it out of there. It's not locked in by anything else. Alright, almost home free. So from here you have two other pins to remove. You have this top pin, which these both only come out one way. This top pin is what actually houses the sear. So if I push this pin out, I'm just going to keep my hand over sear. And then the middle pin here, push that out, and then it's all going to want to come out. So just set that off to the side. Just kind of dip it out of there. So you have your sear, the actual lever for the firing pin block. The only thing left in the chassis is the little dinosaur here. It's just a connector. And the actual sear block itself. So if you want to take that out, you'll need to drive this pin out, which I'll go ahead and do just because. Let's see. Oh, get that backwards. Here we go. Where'd it go? Let's go ahead and take that pin out. So now that you've got that pin out, you can remove this block out of the gun. And that is the completed gun taken completely apart. It's all your parts and pieces. Fairly simple disassembly. Let's go ahead and put it back together. So it's photo. Alright, so let's put it back together now. So zoom back in a little bit here, and then now we're going to take, if you see there is a spring in here, you can take that out if you would like, but I wouldn't. Now your disconnector is going to go back in the sear block, like this. It's got a little place where it sits. And now you can put it back in. Oop. Just kind of slide it in like so. Now you just want to get your hole lined up here in the back. There we go. Should be lined up. Now I'm going to drive that pin back through there. Make sure it's lined up still here before I... Can't tell if it is or not. Nope, sure wasn't. Okay, now we should be able to get it lined back up. Right there. That should be alright. Now we should be good. Alright, there we go. You want to go through about maybe 1/8 of an inch on both sides, just kind of measure where it was at. I'm going to go ahead and a few more taps just to make sure it's even on both. That's about right. Alright. So now you got that back in. If you took it out, you can go ahead and put the sear safety lever back in. So I put this in first, the safety lever itself. What I'll do is I'll put it down in here. Go ahead and get the pin through and just kind of look at it and see if I can get it lined up here. That's not how you do it. I'm going to show you, actually, I did that wrong. I should have showed you how it went back in there. So it's going to go down in there like that with the lip facing the disconnector. Put it down in there. Why are you being such a pain? I really had to do that before, but there we go. So that's all you gotta do is just get it pinned through there like that. That's how it'll sit. Now you can put the sear in. So sear, it's got 2 springs on it, and they sit back here in the back of the frame, in the back of that sear block. You can see where they go. So you're going to put those down in there. Just make sure this is all the way over to the left as far as it, or over to the right as far as it can be. And slide that down in there. Get your pin ready. And start, put your pin through. And you'll just have to get the sear lined up to go through that pin, or the pin to go through it. And now we might be able to get it. Let's see, I can't see what it needs to do. Let's go back just a little bit. Backing up, there we go. So now that that's through, both come through on this side. Got the sear all back together. Should look just like this. Pretty simple to do. From here, we can go ahead and put the the takedown lever bar in. So what I do is go ahead and get it through the frame because it sits in there like this. And it comes up. So I go ahead and get it part way inside. And then I'll take my hook and pull that spring back enough just to get that started down in there. Once I get it in there like that, now I can pull back on it as far as it'll go. Yeah, there we go. And it should fall in place once you get it in there. So just stick it down in there, make sure it's in, because if you try to do it when it's out, you're not going to be able to get past the chassis. Once you get it in there, it should act like this. It should have some tension back and forth. You should be able to see it right here. Okay. Let's see. Next would be the trigger bar. This is where it gets fun. So put the bar on like this. Just get it ready. And then I hold it and I stick it through. It goes through this bottom hole and it slides through there. And then eventually, once you get all the way in, you're going to have to lift the trigger up just a little bit so it comes all the way through on this side. Damn it, keep doing that. So that's how it should sit. It should be. Let's see if the trigger bar was actually. Let's see where it needs to be. It would be right. Like this. So now it's. If I push on it, you'll see it's got. You can see her up and down. The safety lever. So now it's back. So basically what I did, I'll take it out so I can show you. When you have it in there like that, if you look down in there, you can see where it's going to sit. This end here is going to sit right down in here. And it pretty much just goes down in there. You might have to pull the trigger back just a little bit, but once it goes down in there, you can see how it rests. You should be able to kind of lift it up, put some tension on it, and get it to move the sear. So that part's easy. Now we're going to try to get the spring back. I think I'd do it differently. So let's go ahead and get it back in there. Let's see. So I'll take the spring and it's going to go up in here like this. It's just going to loop in. And now you have to get this part of the hook down into right through here. So it's going to swoop down and hook through here. And what I do, I have a slotted screwdriver that I use for everything. It's just got a cutout in it. And I'm going to take like a punch or an Allen key just to hold it kind of in place. That way when I'm going to tension it down in there, it doesn't flop down. And I'm going to try to do this on camera, but it's going to be hard. I'm going to push down, and I'm going to hook that. Usually once you get it started, it'll stay, and then you can take from the right side and just push it the rest of the way in. So you can see how it came out. I basically pushed it over, hooked it on the edge of on the lip right here, and then just pushed it through the rest of the way. It's big enough, the hole's big enough to do that. Give you one final shot at it there so you can see how it looks. Now it's in there. Now you're about home free. So let's go ahead and put the trigger stop pin back through. So you'll have to put it through this bottom hole on this side. Now when you get it through there, you probably have to push down from the top. Just to get it through that hole. You can see that's what the trigger hits when it goes up, so it stops it from coming any more forward or any backwards. And there you can put the slide locks back in. Just flip it upside down like this, just so that spring wants to fall off. Put it in there. Line the holes up. Stick the pin through. Quick check, make sure everything's working. And that is how you disassemble the chassis. So let's go ahead and put it back in the frame real quick. But first, let me start with the magazine release. Like I said, it's super easy to get back in. I'm going to grab those 3 pieces. I'm going to put the spring in. Now if you're reversing it, just do this the opposite way. Stick it in like this, spring forward. And just slide it through. And once you do, you can push it out. Slide this piece in with the open part forward. And it just slides in like that. And now you're done. It just locks itself in. You're good to go. Oop. Test it. Make sure she works. And now we can put the chassis back in the frame. I'm going to zoom out for the rest of this. So putting the chassis back in simple. I just put the trigger down in there first. And then just kind of slide this back part in. Push it all down, and then I get the slide lock. And it's got a cutout here, you can see that it's angled. And I'm going to put that angle against that angle in there. So I'm just going to put it in, basically. Push the chassis back a little bit. There we go. So that's pretty much going to go in there like this. And push it through. And once you get it through, sometimes you got to pull down on it a little bit. Get it lined up through on both sides. I lift it all the way back up to resting position. Push it in all the way. Now I can flip it back down. So, frame is complete. Let's go ahead and start back with the slide. So we'll grab the piece here, make sure that little spring's still in there, which it is. I'm going to take that little bitty S spring. Oh, no, it's not. It's right here. Slide it through. Whoop. Put that little spring in there, just make sure that doesn't fall back out. Okay. Now I'm going to take the little spring. Come on. Now I'm going to take it like this. I'm going to take the little leg up. I'm going to set it on the nub there for it. And then I'm going to take the arm itself. It's going to go in there like this with the hook inward. I'm just going to put it in that little hole. I'm going to kind of slide it up and just make sure that you catch the spring when you lift it up. So it should have tension pushing back down. Hold it in the up position. Slide the striker in. And that's how it should rest. Should be able to, get it to click like that. And now you got to put the spring back on and the 2 cups. We're almost home free here. So, depending on the hands you got, sometimes you can just grab this because you have to. If you just push down on it, the striker wants to go with it. So I always put it on like the edge of this wood block. I'm going to push down on both sides. I'm going to put the cups on. Nope. Broke loose from me. You don't get your fingers in the right position, you're kind of... Oh, come on. This would end up being the hardest part. Cup. Cup. There we go. Let's just get it captured by the, make sure the spring goes up and captures it. Alright, so now grab your slide, put your extractor in, like so. Just like that. You can slide the firing pin in, or the striker in. And then you can take your plunger, and the plunger is going to go in like this, so the cutout be towards the firing pin. Once you get it in there, though, you can tell if it's in the right spot. There you go. You should be able to see it start pushing on the back of the extractor. So once you get that in there like that, you're ready to put the back plate on. So I just go ahead and slide the back plate up just a little bit, like that, and then grab the punch and push in on the plunger just ever so slightly past the frame, and then slide the plate up. If you go too far, it'll capture it way too far in there. So it can capture it at multiple points. Just barely push it past the frame, slide it up, and then when you put the plate on, it should capture everything. Go ahead and put your barrel back in. These non-captive recoil springs, I have to push it against me to get them back in there, but they're nice. Of course, you want to do a function check. Let's go ahead and put the gun back together. Make sure we got trigger pull, reset. If you want, I usually use, since I'm a reloader, empty cases with new primers in them and put one in and hear the pop. But if you don't have that, you can always just quickly stick a pencil in there and make sure it pops out. That way you know the striker and everything's working right. Put your top plate back on, or your optic, and that's it. So I hope everybody enjoyed. Hope you learned something. I think next up we're going to be doing the Rec 0 or AREX 01 Sig 226 copy. So we'll do that next. And then from there, I don't know. We have to see what we get. So thanks everybody for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and let me know what you want to see. I'm running out of ideas here about different pistols I can do. So let me know. We'll see you next time on the Gun Bench.